right now. Quick round, y'all know the drill. What's hot, what you appreciate, and we will dive in and get ready to rock and roll. I'm like in the flow, Gabriel, throwing it out. Good. All right,
Yeah,
let's say again.
No, because the last haircut I got wasn't too good, so I'm just letting it grow for a bit.
Hey, there you go. And then I think Jonathan, we're just missing Spencer. I believe we're missing. Let me see. Let me tag a couple people here.
Yeah, we're just missing Spencer. He just texted me hopping on.
Cool. And then we're missing Tassa's here. Madison's here. I believe we're missing Leah. And we're missing Eric Garcia.
Diana? Is Diana here?
Nope. Diana is not.
Josh was here.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, ladies and gents, we're gonna get started with a quick round. What's hot? What do you appreciate? And we'll go around the horn. Let's start off with Tasso, and we'll go to Gabriel.
Yeah, what's hot? Just hit my 35% promotion for commission, so that's over 20K in sales.
Nice, and 20K on the way to 50.
Yep, on the way to 100 actually.
All right.
Yeah, and I just appreciate everyone in this company and all the resources I have available.
Yes, sir.
All right, love the update, man. Let's go to Gabriel, and then we'll go to Joshua.
What's hot? I recently lost an assassin, like I told you guys last week. So I'm doing last round. So
how far did you make it?
No, I just lost in the first round because my targets were just impossible, and my partner died. So, but yeah, that means I'm not gonna be wasting so much time on that, and I can actually focus on stuff that matters. So, and honestly, I just appreciate being able to have opportunities to improve myself and learn every single day, because I know a lot of people don't have opportunities to do that. They get stuck in a place where they're just the same every single day. So
yes, sir. All right, let's go to Josh, and we'll go to Kaylin.
So what's hot is I started training with my trainer. And what I appreciate is that he's taken the time out of his day to help me and proceed my goals for losing weight.
Awesome. Love that. Let's go to Kaylin, and then we'll go to Madison.
So what's hot is I'm off of Zaxby's. Hate that job. And I appreciate my mom for figuring out the stuff for my graduation party. So.
All right. There you go. Going back up to Ohio, right?
Yep.
All right. Hey, let's go to Madison, and then we'll go to Alyssa.
So what's hot is I'm on staff for Tampa, and I have a rep I get to manage, which is really exciting. And I got to talk to her today, and we talked about time management. And what do I appreciate? I appreciate Tampa staff because they're really helping me out with all learning how to coach people and stuff. So it's been
awesome. Let's go to Alyssa, and then we'll go to Spencer.
So what's hot is that I just got accepted as a senator for Student Government Association at FIU. So, that's cool. And I appreciate my friends because they always support me and they're the best. And yeah.
There you go. All right, let's go to Spencer, and then we'll go to Leah.
What's hot? I had an extra hour talking to John today. It was a great, fun Zoom call. And what do I appreciate today? It's always something to appreciate.
I missed that. Did anyone else miss that?
Yeah.
What do you appreciate?
Appreciate having good health.
Good health. There we go. All right, let's go to Leah, then we'll go to Eric, and we'll wrap up with Deanna.
So what's hot is just last week, papers got signed, and I'm officially a homeowner. And
there you go.
My parents for helping me make that happen.
Hell yeah. Where in Clearwater?
Dunedin.
Cool. Very nice. Let's go to Eric, and then we'll go to Deanna.
What's hot is I actually got a 95 on my chem exam, the one I just took yesterday. So I'm really proud of that. And then what I appreciate is also Tampa staff just helping me out with a bunch of like things.
Cool. All right, Deanna, take us home.
What's hot is I got 100 on my statistics exam yesterday.
Take
and
that, Eric.
Didn't mean to one up. No, but I also appreciate Eric like reaching out to me when he was here last weekend. We got to get some coffee together.
There you go. All right, Jonathan.
Yeah.
Take us home. I'm sorry, you gave me that look. You're like, okay.
All right, what's hot is I mean, Kalen Herring, you guys don't understand how big of a deal that is to not have Kalen Adams actually. So that's super, super hot. What do I appreciate? The Metro AM crew, always making it fun. Had Alyssa sending me a bunch of last night ideas for team meetings and so on and so forth. So we're gonna have an awesome summer. Excited for it.
Hell yeah. I'm looking forward to that. Well, we'll plan out all the team meetings beforehand going into the summer. So there'll be some good fun that will happen from there. But we'll get things right, rock and roll, ladies and gents. Lindsay, I'm going to skip you for this call. But she's here too as a guest. All right, we'll dive in. What's hot for me, I'm actually in Tulum, Mexico, for those of you guys that know where that is. So that's where I'm taking our call here from today. And what I appreciate being able to work with a great team and also be able to do it remotely sometimes, which is kind of cool. So we'll dive in officially for today. This is our third assistant manager training call that we will have out of our series. And as of today, we'll be about halfway through. I'm not going to go through the nitty gritty on assignments right now. I believe I received assignments from the vast majority of you all. There's a couple of you all that sent it to your manager, but just didn't copy me. So I will be the one doing the assignment check, or my assistant's going in and creating the spreadsheet for that. So just make sure that they're copied to me. And for the one or two of you all that did not get that in on time, please send me a message afterwards this of what happened and let me know when you'll have it into me. These videos are going to be ported, and we're going to take a little bit of time to debrief some of these as we actually go through. And this is obviously part of the actual training curriculum that we will be doing. So I actually, on that same note, I want to give a couple quick updates on schedule reminders. So take a quick second to pull up the assistant manager syllabus. Okay. One thing that I am sure, I don't know if you guys know this or not, but we did move our assistant manager call that we have from this past week, our opportunity call that was going to take place today from 6 to 7 p.m. So if you're planning on staying on until 7 o'clock today, you don't need to. And we're going to move this call towards next Tuesday. So more details to come on that. But this, you all are already accepted assistant managers, but I will have you on those calls to give you guys a few reminders, as well as to also set the tone and lead the way for the rest of the division here. And we'll continue these calls up until March 16th will be our last one. So once the March Madness push ends, we'll have one more call, and that will be the last official call. It'll be followed up by one more opportunity call for our part-time assistant managers and AMIs. And then we will start our divisional training series with the Florida Caribbean division, some Florida United mix-ups, and we'll be training again we'll have both assistant manager training classes that will get weekly calls in kind of into the summer, all as well with our new additions here that we have. So today specifically, we'll be talking about how to be an outstanding assistant manager. And obviously, like you guys know, there are assignments, okay, that are posted up in here. So each video, if you're wondering what the assignment is, the assignment for next video is going to be, or next week is watching this video, which is a video for me, actually. And there'll be a different one for each one. Some of them, and again, it gives you the time frame of how long each one is. So some of them are, 50 minutes, some of them are 39 minutes, some of them are shorter, but they're all about 30 minutes to 50 minutes. And that's the only assignment that you guys have to watch between now and then, outside of some social media jumpstart benchmarks. So again, at this point in time, I'll go ahead and re-forward out where everyone should be with this. Let me go ahead and send this out here more time. So the first deadline and actual benchmark where I'll be seriously checking these is going to take place on what would that be? The next call that we have. So the next call we have, everybody should be at by March 1st, 250 people on their list between SMRAs and sales rep candidates. Now, I want to let you guys know too, what they're doing across the rest of the region most AMs, I have you guys getting 500 total on your list and then 100 personal PRs on your list. Most assistant managers across the region are doing the same thing branches and districts are doing. They're getting somewhere between 1,500 to 2,000 people on their list. So I say that for two reasons. Number one, there is an opportunity to take this higher, okay, if you want to, and to go higher with your team. Number two is our benchmarks are realistically pretty low, okay? So there really should be no excuses for anyone not getting this done. Everyone should be pacing again to be at the right levels by the end of April 1st. And we've had a lot of time to work on this too. So reach out to your respective managers if you need some help or guidance. I've also created some different social media videos that I can send you that can also support with that. But there is opportunity to go higher. There's no excuses for not getting this done. And the second thing is the reason I don't have a lot of this extra overwhelming on your plate is because I think your attention and energy could be spent better places elsewhere. So continue to add social media jumpstart, but I would rather, if you have extra time, get extra time to watch videos, train, prepare for the summer, get out there and sell for March Madness, not add to people to the spreadsheet. Work on your actual skill development, work on planning for the summertime, get ahead on your classes so you could be getting out of your finals actually early. And that's another thing that we're going to talk about here in just a second. So there is all that stuff on the list that we want to make sure we're paying attention to. And then a couple other final reminders here just for the calendar. As everybody knows, there will be, if you fast forward your schedules to April, okay, the last thing that's in this document is our summer kickoff event. And I just want to remind you all that summer kickoff is going to be on the 11th, okay, or excuse me, this is the Florida Coast kickoff. So Eastern Region kickoff is on the 10th, which is a Saturday. And it's potentially we'll do on the 9th, but we'll most likely do on the 11th. So this is the only event or a conference that's absolutely mandatory for you going to the summer. And this is not like oh yeah, it's mandatory. Like, I mean, I had an assistant manager one year that I had been training for maybe, 4 or 5 months up until this point, and Jeff didn't let me have them as assistant manager because they weren't able to make it to summer kickoff. At the time, it was a live event, by the way, in Jacksonville, Florida. Is how we used to run it. This is a virtual event, and this has been on the calendar the whole entire time. So just make sure you're making any proper accommodations if you need to for that weekend. It is on the weekend, so there shouldn't be much of a challenge there. But April 10th will be that event. It's the region event, and then the agenda is still coming, but we will have a kind of basically a mini kickoff kind of kill meeting, if you will, with just our assistant manager team in our division as the final kind of hoorah and preparation and send off into the summertime. And that will more than likely, it's a 90%, it might be on the 9th. It's more than likely going to be on the 11th right now, as is in the calendar right now too. So that would just be like a 4-hour meeting with just our assistant manager team to kind of prep people and get them ready to rock and roll for the summertime. And the summer kickoff is the event that will have all of our assistant managers, all of our sales reps, our branches, our district managers. That's an event for everybody that kicks off officially our summer of 2021. Any questions on that event or on the calendar right now? The other two things that I want you all to be in the loop with, number one is this is not for you all, but it is more so just so you guys are in the loop. You don't necessarily need to put this on your calendar, but all of your managers will be at summer or divisional kill meeting, which is basically a 3-day meeting that we have to really attack the summer. And we do all our finalized planning at that event. So I do that. And then I have one-on-one CAP sessions, campaign action plans with every single manager that last a couple hours for every single person as we kind of set up going into their summertime. Okay. The reason I'm sharing that with you all is because we're going to kind of have the same things for you all. So that summer kickoff event, that's kind of like your kill meeting. Okay. The one that's just for the AMs, like I do it. Ours is 3 days for branches and districts, but y'all's will be that day and afternoon. Like that is kind of like your summer prep meeting of like, hey, here's everything we need to go get ready to rock and roll before we enter into the summertime. You also will probably have caps with your manager, meaning, if you're in Miami leading into the summer, so it hasn't started yet, but everyone's been selected for their roles. And I doubt this has happened in most offices. This hasn't happened in Miami yet. No one's been given specific direction on who will be in charge of what your office schedule is like, what your actual specific pay and compensation is like, your summer selling goals, your summer income goals, all that stuff will also be coming here shortly I can speak on the behalf of, if you're in Tampa, Mike will be doing one of these with you probably towards the end of March. If you're in Sarasota, probably something similar. If you're in Miami, ours will likely be, probably mid-March. We'll have these meetings where we'll be able to map out, your schedule for the summertime, to give you some clarity on that, your income goals, your selling goals, just to give you a lot of more clarity and confidence in exactly what your day-to-day job is going to be, what's the week-to-week flow of the summertime, what's your schedule like, what's your pay like, and all that good stuff there too. So I know there's probably at this point starting to get some questions around that stuff. So just know that that is coming. In the meantime, we're just trying to get everyone trained and prepared and ready to rock and roll for that. Questions on any of that stuff? All right. Last thing would be getting out of finals early. Okay. So this is something that I've talked, all of our branches and districts are doing this. And it's something that even I did as an assistant manager too. Something else also that I have asked are, this is a big key, I think, to starting the summer the right way. So most of you all, raise your hand if you're in high school right now. Okay. High schoolers, you guys are going to have more trouble with this. Okay. You're just going to get out a little bit later into the summertime, which means your role is probably going to start a little bit later. That's just how it typically worked with high schools. Now, in certain situations, you have things like senior sign out. Some people don't have to go back to classes after AP exams. I would, even if you're in high school in the virtual climate, start to get an idea of when are you out, when's your graduation, when are your finals, and when's your last obligation to actually go to classes, because every kind of school is handling this a little bit differently. But you got to keep in mind, after you take a certain time period, when you take finals, there's going to be a month and a half worth of classes that you're not even getting grades on anything. And it's they used to just try to get you to stay in school and have you come to school even though you're not doing anything, but it's a virtual climate. So I would just see hey, is there anything that you can get out of? Are there any classes that you won't need to be present in on a daily basis? What is your flexibility like if you're a high school student? If you're a college student, okay, I want to give you guys a breakdown on what we're doing for branches. So summer starts the first week of summer. Okay, if you're looking at your calendar, is the last week of April, which is April 27th. Okay, is the first week of summertime, and the actual Cutco summer campaign. So it's that first week that goes into May. So Tuesday, April 27th, and then it goes into the first couple of days of May. That's the first week of the official summer Cutco calendar. That's when, Silver Cup standings start. That's when, actual summer campaign sales start. Everything starts on that day, technically speaking, for the summertime. Now, every year, the typical flow for our branches and districts is that they are really by summer kickoff. Okay, that's the goal where everyone's done and out of classes and finals for any branches and districts, is that they're going to that meeting and they're already out of any kind of school obligations that they need to be involved in, and they are, Cutco ready to rock and roll. That's typically the goal and deadline. So here's what I will say is, if you're an assistant manager, you'll have to talk about this. This needs to be a one-on-one conversation with your respective manager on what your actual school schedule and class schedule is like, how many exams you actually have, when your finals week is, because every school is doing it differently right now. Some finals weeks are the 26th. Some finals weeks, your school started a month later than everybody else, and it started in February. Yours are mid-May is when your finals are. So just keep in mind that summer is already in fact, the biggest month and busiest month of the summer is May. So if you're missing half of the most important month of the summer, that's going to be challenging here. So really the goal is to get out of whatever finals, classes, and obligations that you can. If you were super, super early, 5-star assistant manager recruit for the summertime, you're done at the beginning of April. I think the target for most assistant managers should be by the week of the 10th, or so that between the 10th and the 17th, you're out of the vast majority of your school obligations. I would say, late is probably the week of the 26th of April. It's kind of late. Really late is I'm not available, Andrew, until mid-May is when I'm available for the summertime. That's real late into the summertime. So those are some dates and just getting an idea of when you should be out by. In terms of actually giving you guys some goods, because I don't think anyone here is probably gonna have much experience with this too. So here's a couple quick things on how to get out of classes and finals early. When I say get out of classes and finals, it used to be different. Okay, because a lot of you all, for instance, would be how would traditionally work is, if I'm up at FSU, I need to actually physically get back to the city of Miami, and I have to finish my obligations at school. This is pre-virtual world. In the virtual world, most of you, like, technically you can start doing stuff whenever. Like, you don't have to be physically back in your territory or in your area. And a lot of you already physically live in your territory. So that makes things easier. However, I will tell you is that you don't want to have a lot of, the goal is to lower the workload, right? If you have assistant manager duties around, while you're trying to knock out a big old finals week and stuff like that too, and it's like the second week of May, that's going to make things a little tough and challenging, and it's going to be a stressful time period. So you're really trying to lighten that load. What that looks like is, again, it's a drop down. So, some of your classes and your finals, the ideal scenario is, if you can, you just get out of taking the final. You don't even take the final at all. They do something like, hey, just count my third grade as my final grade, or, hey, I already have an A in the class, just exempt me from the final. That's like the ideal scenario. The next thing that would be a little bit less ideal is you do some alternative assignment for the final. Hey, can I write you a paper instead of take the final? Can I do something else? Can I turn in a project? Can I present something to the class or whatever? There's an alternative assignment instead of the final. That's your final grade. That's probably option number 2. Drop down number there from 3 is like, is taking your finals early. Okay. So certain classes, you're able to take the exam just, a month early, than everyone else does. So you're done with those class obligations before going into the summer. And I guess the fourth and final option is that you take those exams during the respective finals week, and there's not a whole lot of flexibility that you get with it. So first thing I'll tell you guys is that everything is negotiable. This is if you're in college right now, just know everything is negotiable, number 1. Okay, no matter what professors say, oh, there's nothing we can do, we can't move this exam around. This is the equivalent of like someone being at the airline. Like, if you've ever gone to, Miami International Airport, you miss your flight, something happens, okay, and you go and talk to the flight attendant or the person there, and they have a standard protocol. They have a standard procedures of what they're allowed to do and what they're not allowed to do. Any of those people can go in and book you a flight for free. They can go in and switch your flight for free. They can do any of that stuff for you completely for free without charge, because they do it to their priority customers and their favorite customers, or people that they just really like all the time. But they don't do that for most people. If they do that for every single person, then when they would have then people would run over them. So they have a standard operating protocol, but everything's negotiable. Okay, so it's about building a relationship when you go in there, building rapport with the flight attendant, and be able to kind of negotiate your way into it. It's the same thing with teachers and professors. Okay, you're gonna have some professors that, like, you'll ask them, you've been a good student, they're like, yeah, sure, whatever, no worries, like, they don't even care. Other professors, I had some in college where, like, I went to go get out of the finals, and I had a real estate law professor that, like, literally had the syllabus memorized, like, in his head. He's like, man, well, I'd love to help you out, but the syllabus, says in section 4, number 8, that blah, 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 and he quoted like a paragraph out of the syllabus. And he's like, so there's nothing I can do. That's what a syllabus says. And so some people are gonna be a lot harder to get this done by. I just want to tell you, like, from my personal experience, when I was in college, I did this for 20 different classes. Okay, so I took, had 15 credit hours, 5 classes, freshman year, sophomore year, junior year, and senior year, three different majors. Got out of every single one of them every single year without a problem. Okay. And we've done this at Harvard. We've done this at Princeton. We've done this at NYU. We've done this at, other great universities. So I'm just telling you guys, it is possible. Everything's negotiable. And here's a little bit of the approach that you want to take with this actual one. Again, it's all about laying the load. So maybe, maybe there's one exam that you don't quite get moved. And you're like, Andrew, I would take an exam I'm gonna have to study a lot for, like, during 1 week in May, I couldn't get this one moved, but it's about lighting the load. What you don't want is, you don't want to have 4 or 5 exams and a bunch of extra schoolwork all through the months of April and May. So if there's might be some that you can lighten the load with, some you might take early, some you might just get out of. But here's a couple quick keys on how to do this process. First thing is, you have to have good grades in your classes. Okay, because if you're struggling in your classes and you're behind, or you have C's, or you never attend class, or you're the person that doesn't turn assignments, your professors are going to be less likely to want to work with you on anything. Okay, so you've got to be, number 1, a good student. So if you haven't been, like just start to try to make a point to be noticed in your classes. Okay, like meaning like even if you don't really feel like it, just speak up and say something in your class when your professors are asking. Stay after the class and just ask like a good question. Hey, I really appreciate you were talking about this. I actually, blah, blah, like ask good questions. It's very, very easy in this Zoom world to stand out in your classes. Second thing is I'd schedule like a one-on-one with all of your professors like in the next week or two. Now, this is not the call where you're going to ask them to get out of your classes and finals. This is like a rapport building, networking, relationship building call. And I would kind of seed plant a little bit of the opportunity that you have this summer as assistant manager, even though you already have the position. Just say, hey, I'm being considered for this role this summer, and like ask for their advice. Professors and teachers love to give advice and support. But the goal with this is to kind of like win them over. So they already kind of know who you are. They know like you're serious, like you're actually a good student. You're doing things in the world. You've got a great opportunity this summer. The goal is to kind of sell them on the opportunity. So they're almost on like on your side where it's like, oh yeah, listen, you should totally go take that opportunity. That sounds like a great thing for you. This, you'll learn this. This is gonna be good. Like that's such a cool opportunity. Great. And then like, probably mid-March is when you sit down to have the conversation. Now, some of them, again, you might just be able to get out of earlier. And then mid-March is when you sit down the conversation, like, hey, so I actually was accepted for this role, this opportunity, and I'm going through all this stuff. So I'm really excited about it. Thanks for the advice. Thanks for the perspective. And also, part of the situation is that the internship that I'm being accepted for, I would just say the word internship because that's the word that resonates more with people in the scholastic world. Hey, the internship that I was accepted for, it actually starts on April 5th. And that's when most of my obligations for the role start. It's a summer position, but we have to set up the beginning of the summertime for my actual role. So obviously I was looking at the exam schedule and I know our exam is actually on the first week of May, but I already need to be in my, situation in my territory, in my location, already operating and doing this full time, by April 5th. So I wanted to see, what all we could do to make this work. I already talked to Professor Joey Smith. So and that one I'm actually just taking the final a little bit earlier, and I'm going to take it before I finish up school that week. And this class, I already have an A, so he just said don't worry about it, and they're just going to count that as my final grade. This class I'm actually going to write a paper instead to do the final. So anyways, I just wanted to check in with you because I know this is going to conflict with your exam dates. Like what would be the best thing to work out here for you? It's like an assume the sale. Don't ask, hey, is it okay if I can move my exam? It's just kind of like, hey, I have to start this job here at this date. And by the way, here's a key too, is I always say a date a little bit earlier than I actually need. So a lot of times I'll say April 5th, but I'm trying to get out by like the week of the 12th. So that way there's a little, almost like negotiating room, in between of like, oh, I can't do it that early, but we could do it here. Okay, great. So, and always start with the easiest professor first, get the easiest classes out of the way, the ones that like, because then you can name drop. Oh, well, Professor Blank is already doing this. Professor Blank's already doing this. Do the hardest ones at the end, where it's like, oh, I've already done this for all my other classes and things like that too. Again, as assistant managers, I'm not on top of this as much as we would be with branches. Branches, there's not an option. You've got to get out of classes early or it's going to really hurt your summertime. I realize for you all, the branches have had this in mind going into January, and there's a little bit more preparation. Also, some of y'all are 9 class. Some of y'all have like 9 or 12 credits, which is pretty easy to handle. Some of y'all have 18 credits. This is a little bit more of an intensive process to make sure you get set up. But for the people that have a lot more on their plate for school, it's more intentional for you guys to be doing these things too. And talk to your respective manager because they'll make a plan with you. Some of you all, you're going to get out of your finals. You're going to start making an assistant manager pay, and you'll be ready to rock and roll like at the second week or third week of April, no other school obligations. Others of you all will be in a situation where your school obligations should be a lot lighter than they have been throughout the rest of the semester. So it's like, I'm not out of everything. I'm not completely done with school, but like I can start doing some things in the office right now here around my schedule because my school load has been lightened quite a bit. I've already taken care of, I'm already out of 2 of my classes completely. 1, I don't have anything to do except the final at the end of the semester. I've got nothing else to worry about. And then there's like 1 or 2 classes I still got to be a little bit involved in, but they're pretty easy. So you have to kind of evaluate where you're at and then you have a conversation with your respective manager on what makes sense for your own personal schedule there. But any questions on getting out of finals early, dates, or kind of how to go about doing that? Yeah, Leah.
When did you say we should try and do those initial rapport building Zoom meetings?
As soon as possible.
Okay.
Yeah. So my recommendation would have been, hey, at the beginning of the semester. But at this point now, it's just like, I would say typically you're going to kind of like pop the question, usually right before spring break, but everyone's spring breaks are different this year. So I'd say about around mid-March. Think about after March Madness, that week of the second acceptance week, March 15th to the 19th. That's probably when you should be asking most of the questions to kind of get this stuff worked out. So the ideal is that you've already had a conversation with them before you have that conversation, right? So sometime in the next week or two would be ideal. And you can just pop into their office hours or whatever else that they have for students that are available. That can help. Who else had a question on this? Cool. Again, talk to respective managers. They'll give you some more specific direction on what their expectations are for you, but I'm just trying to give you guys the guidelines so you know how to do it. More of the how versus the actual like what. And I want to give you guys general guidelines of when I would typically like to see an assistant manager be ready to rock and roll. But again, I know everyone's in different situations for this. So just keep that in mind that, some people are here, you guys are not in school at all. So this is no worries. Others of you have a couple of quick things to do. This is pretty easy. Some of you have a more intensive school schedule. So just want to make sure I'm putting this out there, ahead of time. And that brings me off of most of my quick admin stuff and brings me into our conversation coaching topics here for the day. So first thing that I would like to do, I like to spend a few minutes, go ahead and get out your notes, okay, from the Dominating Push Periods, Kathy Vasquez video. Pull those up for a quick second. And we're probably gonna spend about 10 minutes debriefing this video here real quickly together. And the highlights, takeaways, and biggest nuggets that you guys had from this video. So take a quick second to get out your notes. And we'll open the floor. I'd like to hear from everybody, unless you're one of the people that just didn't do the assignment. But if you did the assignment, I'd like to hear at least everybody chime in at least once. But we'll be able to go around the horn and open up to whoever would like to chime in first. Yeah, we'll go to Leah, and then we'll go to Alyssa.
So one of the biggest things that I took away from that video was that a push is having permission to push people to their next level, because it's getting that commitment ahead of time on what you're going to be doing, how much you're going to try and do, your must, should, could, and along with that, it's another thing she said was, this is our excuse for 2 weeks to drive the heck out of the top representatives. So I know that's true.
Yep. And I think and we'll keep diving into a little more in this video, but like this is push periods is something this is why this is the first thing that we went over today or the first assignment was about push periods. Part of it is because we got one coming up right now that I'm expecting everyone to step up for March Madness, but it's double folded, right? And this is like the good perspective that you get as an AM. You should think about everything from the perspective of, okay, hopefully it's influencing your own mentality of like how you should be thinking about pushes this upcoming summer. And then also on the other end of things, you're leading people and coaching people and helping set up a team with the same mentality of how you should be leading other people. Pushes are by far my favorite time of the entire year. I spend all year round basically looking forward to SE1 and SE2 pushes. Not only is that when we sell the most, it's a big income time for everybody, but it's also the time period where reps, like that is where development happens. I'm looking at even right now, I'm staring at people that were on my SE2 Alliance last year, and that's typically how it goes. If you think back to like who's running an office this summer and playing a lead role, 90% chance they were on our Alliance, for SE2. Most of you all were in your office's SE2 Alliance this summertime. So, and it's not because part of it is, yes, people sell more during the Alliance, but it's really about the mentality and the training and the corralling that happens during it. People actually push themselves to do something big, and that's the whole idea behind the push. It's not about selling 10 grand, okay, or 20 grand, because some people 10 grand is a push. Other people, there's people, some of you on this call that like 10 grand is not a push for you this summer. Like you're not pushing yourself beyond your capacity. That's just like, cool, I know I can sell 10 grand in 2.5 weeks if I just work. Okay. It's about pushing yourself and really seeing where's my capacity, where are my limits, where can I improve? And the mental and physical components that come from that too. That's why pushes are exciting. It also is what develops your future leaders. People get developed during those push periods. And honestly, most people that have never been through a Cutco push aren't usually good managers and leaders because they've never done it themselves before. They've never actually pushed themselves to that capacity. So thanks for checking in, Leah. Let's go to Alyssa, and then we'll go to Eric.
Okay, something that I guess like kind of like stuck with me was that the 10K alliances, like it isn't about selling 10K, it's about the commitment, because it really just stuck with me because my first summer I was in your 10K alliance and I didn't sell 10K, but I pushed myself to my breaking point. It was appointments back to back to back that people in my house would have to remind me to eat lunch, because if not, I'd be working, I'd be calling, I'd be doing stuff. It was like my mom would sit me down, take a 20-minute break, eat something, breathe, then get back to work. So it was like something that like guess it's push yourself to your breaking point.
Mm.
And
Yeah. And
so yeah, that
and to
was
your
it.
point, Alyssa, that's like the culture, right? You know, that's what we've talked about. Hey, it's like assistant managers, you guys influence the culture of the office and the team. The push and the alliance is so much more about the culture than it is even having people go out there some sales goal. You know, it's about the culture of that group that's being built inside of that. It's why a lot of times too, you know, like there's people that I know can sell that I don't have on the alliance, because it's a lot more about people pushing themselves in culture. It's like, you can sell and not be on the alliance, go sell 20 grand for SE2. That's cool. But we have an alliance. It's a tight knit group. You know, we want to hand select it. It's like the starting lineup, if you will, for the summertime. All right, let's go to
you
yep,
use the same exact phrase.
starting lineup, baby. All right, let's go to Eric, and then I don't know, we'll go to someone else next. We'll go to Eric first.
What stood out to me was the first thing she said. So peers are your bread and butter, but push peers are what really took the sales report to the next level. So from like a management viewpoint, that's what I was like, okay, so yeah, peers are great because that's how we're going to start off the summer, but it's really pushing those reps, which then correlated to, like, she was explaining how like having a max schedule is key, and then enrolling your parents to like let you do that for 2 weeks. Because I remember last summer we had a lot of reps having conflicts with their parentals on like this, like, you're working too hard, like blah blah blah. But like she said, like, I literally make them sign a paper, the parents know this, so I'm allowed to push you to that next level for just those 2 weeks.
Yep, I love that too. And to your point, Eric, right? The PRs are what drives, like, you know, drives the business. The pushes are what take it to the next level. So I think even to your point, like I think about, you know, people that were on my lines last summer, like an Alyssa or Spencer, and like, you know, imagine the culture of that group, but every single person there is already at like 20K in sales and has the capacity to sell 20, 30 grand for the push. Imagine that group, but like double the size and double the commitment, you know? So like you're going to run an alliance one way or another. You'll be able to create the culture of the alliance with the group that you have, but the PRs and the recruiting at the beginning is what determines what that team looks like. What does your SE1 alliance team actually look like? What does your SE2 alliance team look like? There's been summers where I've been really excited about building this massive, kick-ass, powerful, life-changing alliance experience. And we haven't quite been able to pull that off because the PRs and recruiting that we did leading up to that didn't really allow us, the best people on the team, to really have that. It's like we ended up looking at the alliance lineup and be like, all right, this is not really the group that we wanted to, but we're going to have to work with it. So it's the recruiting that will set up who do you have on these teams in the first place, right? Let's go to Gabriel, and then I'll go to Josh. I know everyone's raising their hand right now, so we'll go around the horn for everybody.
Something that stood out to me that Kathy was talking about in the video was the importance of like rallying people behind a purpose to do it. Like, because a lot of times when it's just for themselves, you know, they might be thinking about the income, the experience, recognition, but sometimes that their own like intrinsic motivation isn't enough for them to like perform, you know? So when you're able to rally people behind like a greater purpose, like for the office or for like people around them, it gives them like something stronger to work towards.
Yep, exactly. And that's something like, I mean, all of you all know that, even just for your own, again, for training, coaching reps, and also for your personal, it's like, hey, like, you know, you guys have heard that before, like, what's your why? What's your why? You know, if the why is just like, hey, like, you know, you have to have a strong why. If the why is I want to make I want to make 2 grand. Cool, that can be motivating, but like, you know, if your goal is just to make $2,000 in income, if you're the last day of the push, you're at $8,500 in sales, you've already made like $1,700, $1,800, you know, it's the last night of the push, like, are you really going to go all out and stop at nothing because you want to make an extra $100, $200? It's like, yeah, I pretty much got the $2,000 that I wanted. We got it. There's got to be something else in there, that there's a deeper desire behind something to hit that goal. And most of the time it comes with an intrinsic thing between themselves, like an opportunity to prove themselves in their own capacity and push themselves to see what they're capable of is really more important than anything, the financial goals, or the push periods, or things like that too. All right, let's go to, let me go to Kaylin, and then I'll go to, let me go to Josh, and then we'll go to Kaylin.
Yeah, so something that stuck with me is that the pushes are basically to get out of your comfort zone and to just push you past your breaking point and to grow as much as possible in that little time span.
Yep. Kaylin, and then we'll go to Victoria.
So one thing that I thought was very important was during PCs, you want to set the right expectations. And not only that, but no matter how the day went, always celebrate your actions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so much. Here's something that's important to know. And as managers, and this is what it's kind of weird as an AM, because you're actually in the push, but just so you know, for managers, the push happens before the push. Ask Jonathan how his past 2 weeks have been, say at the March Madness push. Okay, the push for managers always happens in the setup to the push. Okay, SC2 as a manager is really not that hard once the push gets rolling. What's really hard is the 2 weeks leading up to SC2. There's so many freaking, that's your push. That's when you're doing appointments, you're doing PCs back to back, PC, around the office schedule, extra meetings, like you're setting up the push. Once the push happens, it's just execution time. The ball is rolling. It's also pretty hard to fix any lack of expectations that you set up once the push starts. All happens with priming people's expectations going into the push, not once the alliance meetings start and you're influencing them every single day, because it's all about how they start and the mentality that they have going into it. So excellent point there, Kaylin. Let's go to Victoria, and then we'll go to Tasso, wrap up with Madison.
I liked how she really emphasized the schedule. I know if you don't have like a plan, then your drive is kind of useless. You need to be able to see exactly what you're doing and schedule out everything. Also, like Eric said, getting your parents involved, having them sign off on it, making sure that they're okay with it and they know what you're working towards. I think it's really important to just ensure that your parents know too, because you sometimes need that boost of encouragement.
Mm-hmm. And that's a good point for everybody else also on this call, is like, hey, you guys have the push dates now. Like, good time period to talk to your parents and being like, hey, look, I'm gonna be working this summer. I'll be busy, but here are the times where it's like I can't do anything. Like, I'm going to give you, this is SC1, this is SC2. I'm pushing during these time periods. This is the time period where it's like, look, if you need anything from me, any family vacations, weekends, let me know. Beforehand, middle, afterwards. Okay, but these are the only weeks that I need to be able to be out, full out, committed, sort of this towards the time. Prep them ahead of time. Usually when parents have problems, it's because there's a lack of communication. Most parents are pretty flexible and work with you if you actually are giving them heads up notice, like an adult, 2 or 3 months ahead of time, and letting them know, like, hey, here it is. The challenge is when you've already been working a lot, and then you tell them, now I'm going to work more and step up for SC1. And they're like, what the hell? I thought you've been pushing. They're like, what is this? What are you talking about pushing? That's another conversation that happens there. And then to your point, Victoria, reps need 3 things to succeed. Okay. And this is, if you ever have a rep on your team this summer that you're managing and you're working with and they're not performing, it's one of these 3 things. Okay. And only these 3 things. And I think some people on this call already know them. What are they? What's one of them? Reps need a what?
A plan.
So, okay, first one was they need to have a plan. Second thing they need is they need a what?
Numbers to call.
They need to have people to call. And the third thing is they got to feel good. Okay, so reps that feel good, reps that have a plan, and reps that have people to call have no problem selling. Okay, if they're not selling, if they're not performing, it's because of one of those 3 things. They're either not feeling good, they don't have they feel good, they got people to call, they just don't have a real good plan. Okay, or they feel good, they have a plan, they just don't have names and numbers to call. So those are the things that when you have a PC with the rep, like, it's really what you're looking at is like, how's the rep feeling? Do they have a plan? And do they have people to call? And make sure the last one, people to call, is one of the most important. A lot of times I see managers do this PC, paint some vision, get them feeling good, make a big game plan for their big old push. And then it's like, yeah, they've got 10 numbers on cue. It's like, all right, great. I'm glad you made that plan. They're not gonna be able to follow through with any of that plan because they don't have people to call. Okay. So that's where you got to start there too. It's just making sure. And I make sure, if you didn't write that down, by the way, one thing I'm actually going to have, I'll do that for this one too. I'm going to have everyone send me your notes from this call after this call is done. So we're going to send them over to Eddie Las Cuevas. One thing that I want to make sure everyone's doing is actually, this is your assistant manager training Bible, is the notes from this call. So you're not going to want to go back and watch 8 hours of videos from the summer. You will want to go back and look at your notes from the summertime too. So I think this is just an important thing of like, hey, managing reps feel good, how to have a plan, and they need people to call. Last thing, or was there one more person that wanted to chime in? I think, was it Tasso? Yeah, Tasso. We'll take Tasso and Masson quickly, then we'll move on.
Yeah, I took this one away from just looking at a personal standpoint and looking at my past pushes. And I'll be honest, I mean, during the winter campaign, during those pushes, I did not put in any effort at all, and I didn't have any motivation. And she asked, "Are you dreading the push, or are you going to be excited?" And I was dreading it, and after basically telling myself, wake the hell up, I'm now looking forward to this March Madness push, and I'm going to be excited about it. I'm going to push myself every day and really lead and try to help others along the way.
Oh yeah, man. I'm excited to see you lead here, and I appreciate that chiming in. And by the way, like, if you ever felt that way, great. So is everybody that's probably ever worked here long enough. There's some, when I was a rep in an AM, like, Jonathan's not his head too. There were some pushes that I was fired up for, and there's others that I was like, oh, like there's a push, like, no, I don't want to do this right now. And by the way, like, push periods are supposed to be growth periods. And that's a lot of time how growing feels. Like, a lot of times it feels like anytime you're going through a growth period, most people are usually resistant to change. Those growth periods, the ones that are challenging, the ones that you dread, are usually the best things for you. If it's like, if it's tough, like, good, that's probably what you need. And the reason that you don't want to do it is probably why you need it the most. But, keep in mind that we've all been there, done that. I just think it's important to evaluate your own mental state of how you view these pushes that are coming up this summer, March Madness included, but even SE1 and SE2. It's like, are you dreading it, or are you really getting excited? Because again, energy is influence, and it doesn't matter what you say to reps. They're going to feel you more than they hear you. Okay. They're going to feel your energy and excitement about how personally excited you are about the pushes, or they're going to hear you trying to hype them up, even though you don't even really want to push either. They're going to feel it. So it's all about like your own personal energy. And I think that just goes back to like, hey, if you have if you're over 20, 30K and there's like that weird, reluctancy about like selling, or you have like weird feelings, like something to pay attention to and look at as we get closer to the summertime. Really kind of challenge you, like, how good can you get the Cutco presentation? Can you actually fall in love with selling, fall in love with being able to use our products, fall in love with getting Cutco in people's hands? That enthusiasm, again, is going to translate into not only your sales, but also into the rest of the reps that are on the team. All right, Madison, wrap us up, and then we'll move into our last topic here for today.
Yeah, so one of mine was, it's a privilege to coach and guide your reps. And kind of the same thing, the mentality you have going in is what your reps will have. They're a reflection of you.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, SE2 is really a time where you can impact people for literally the rest of their lives, just from what you do for 2 weeks. So keep in mind that it's a lot of opportunity. There's also a lot of responsibility that comes from that too. So I want to transition to our last topic here. I want to make sure we wrap up by 6 o'clock. And this is actually going to be the majority of the call today. But what I want to take some time to talk to you about is obligation number 2 of an assistant manager. Again, there's only 2 things that you can do to impact your office as an assistant manager. One is impacting recruiting, okay? And the other is impacting the culture of your office, primarily through your personal sales, okay? And an assistant manager is actually selling. Yeah, you got it, Alyssa. So I'll speak on behalf of everybody and every single manager that you guys are working with. Again, that the goal is to build the biggest, baddest, division and district organizations for each of your respective offices in the company. Okay. When it comes to assistant manager selling, the speed of the leader is always the speed of the pack. If you sprint, they sprint. If you lead, they lead. Okay. And this is a sales organization. So what's the number one most important thing for a leader in a sales organization to do? Who knows?
Sell a lot.
Sell a lot of cocoa. Yeah. Okay. And this is why, okay, is because as assistant managers, you are not leaders by title. You are leaders by example. Okay. Again, this is like being the sport. I've given this analogy many times, but it's like being the sports team. Okay. You're not necessarily the owner of this franchise. You're not the owner of the team. You're not the one necessarily calling all the plays that happen, but you are the one that everyone else is looking at and watching. And you're the pep rat, you're the hype man or woman. You're the person that other people are looking to for leadership, and you should be playing harder than anybody else on the court. You know, the speed of the captain dictates the speed of the rest of the team. And that's really what you do as an assistant manager. You're the captain of the team. You're the leader of the organization, the leader of that team. And I've said this many, many times, but the captains influence the culture and the performance of that team, I believe, more so than the coach does. You know, they're the ones that carry that. And here's the thing is, like, when you sell as an assistant manager, you have more clout. Okay. The representatives respect you more because they know you know what you're talking about. Okay. Whenever I have assistant managers that are like, oh, you know, I keep calling them, but they don't answer my texts, they don't answer my calls. I'm like, yeah, maybe you should go sell some Cutco, because none of them want to like hear from you because they don't like, they know you want to talk to them, but like they don't have a lot of respect for you because they've never seen you on the sales report. And I'm out here promoting how much our assistant managers sell. They see other AMs report, but they're like, well, why doesn't this assistant manager sell? Why is that my captain and not, you know, John the Gastel, who's out here selling $4,000 every single week? You know, John, were you going to add something here?
Yeah, I was gonna add 2019. That is like literally exactly what happens. Like the AMs that
sold.
Like those, that's who like the reps picked up their calls. Like that's who they responded to. AMs that didn't. Like literally, I would have an assistant manager across from me that like is never on the report, call an AM. And I'd call them and they'd be like, yeah, hey, Jonathan, yeah, I'm just chilling. I didn't do anything. I've been on my phone the whole time.
And then they're like, and the other AMs are like, what is going on? Why aren't they answering my calls?
Why aren't they answering me? It's like, well,
okay. Look, it gives you more clout level. It gives you more respect in the office. When you sell, you have more influence. Okay. When you sell, number one, you also have more confidence and more belief and more conviction in the program, which makes you, by the way, a lot better recruiter. Okay. You're a good, like when you can just like, this is one reason this is a De Las Cuevas staple. Show them your paychecks. Okay. Now, the thing is, you can't really do that if you haven't been selling because your paychecks aren't that hot, you know, as much as some other people on the team. When you can like show them, oh yeah, I just made like another $1,500 last week, you know, like that it gives you not only more confidence, conviction, but it's something that you're able to be a better recruiter from. Our best recruiters are people that are good sales reps. And it just makes you so much more enthusiastic about your role and your position. I promise you, if you're out going out and selling, you know, 40, 50 grand for the summer and you're making an additional 15, 20 grand in income, like you'll be more excited and more convicted in the opportunity that you have. And it's so much easier to get your own personal PR set for steroids or office interviews when you have that. When you're selling, you are a more impressive version of yourself. You know, when you're selling, you can actually use yourself as an example when coaching reps. Now, I learned this one thing in a video, or Jonathan taught me this, or, you know, here's something that might help. It's like, hey, Joey, I actually had an appointment yesterday. Something similar happened. Here's what I did. You know, not like, oh, well, last summer I had an appointment that I did. And they said the same thing. It's like, you know, like you're doing appointments on a regular basis. It's way more frequent. It makes more sense to them. You know, you can actually hit the, like, number one, when you hit the newsletter consistently, okay, and you step up for pushes, reps tend to actually listen to you. And they're so much more open to your advice because they know you're a badass and they know you know what you're talking about. You cannot tell someone to do something that you have not done. You can't. Okay. And when assistant managers are selling, it creates human trophies inside of the office. When AMs are selling, it's like walking proof of the income opportunity. When AMs are selling, the office is always selling more because reps always want to beat their manager. Seriously, that's the number one thing is when there's a manager at 4K, I can't tell you how many more reps there are at 2K and 3K and 5K in sales because everyone wants to beat that assistant manager for the sales report for that week. You know, when assistant managers are selling, it creates more competition in the office. Okay, you can always challenge. This is the easiest thing to influence your reps and teams is when you're selling more than them. You know, when you sold $2,000, $3,000 last week, and you can say, hey, bro, step it up. You know, I sold more than you last week, and I'm like working 3 or 4 days in the office right now. You don't even have anything else going on. Or, dude, you're gonna let me beat you again this week? Really? You know, there's a more fun, competitive atmosphere that happens when AMs are selling. The office has more culture. It's just a lot more fun. Okay, there's a better atmosphere. There's more energy. You know, my goal is always to have the top 5 in the office. It should be mostly assistant managers every single week. You know, and then the 1 or 2 reps that made it their way onto the report that week and tried to beat the assistant managers, but fell a little bit more short. Okay, there's just more energy. When AM is selling, it creates more All-American scholarship winners. You know, our goal in just Miami next summer is to have 5 to 6 scholarship winners alone inside of our office. Some of our best summers in the past, we've had 3 scholarship winners. The goal is to update that to 5 to 6, you know, have 10 across the division. Number one, a couple of those people should be assistant managers. That's usually how it is. A couple of assistant managers are winning scholarships. And then others are the new reps that are following in the footsteps of those assistant managers. Okay, it's hard for new reps to see that vision if they don't already see someone else doing it in the office. It creates better event attendance. When an assistant manager is selling, it creates better branch manager candidates because there's a strong leadership core inside of the actual offices. And, you know, the last thing that I think about is you have to understand that representatives go big during the pushes because assistant managers go bigger. Okay, the only way an office breaks records during a push is if assistant managers step up and lead the entire team to do that. Okay, and I just want to make it clear, there should never be a representative, okay, that beats an assistant manager during a push, ever. Okay, there should be no case or scenarios outside of maybe, you know, you have what's her name in Puerto Rico this summer? Okay, that did, I don't even know. She's like 120 grand in the summertime. Okay, cool. If there's a rep on your team that drops like 60 grand for SC2, they could beat you. Okay, as an assistant manager. But there should be no reps outside of that that are really beating you ever for an SC1 or an SC2 push. Okay, and you know, as soon as I do want to state this too, and a lot of you all can speak to this or have experienced before. As soon as a rep passes an assistant manager in career sales, there is a dramatic loss of respect for that assistant manager. The second that they find out that they've sold more than you in their career and they've been there for a month and you've been on the job since last summer, boom, respect goes down like the grain. In fact, that's when Jonathan starts getting extra calls because they're like, why are you calling me? It's like, I don't really want to talk to, you know, so-and-so anymore. Because they just like, oh, wait, you sold less than me? Why the heck am I asking you for advice then? Okay. And that's how they feel too. It also makes them go, oh, wait, I'm doing really good. But I must be crushing this. I've sold more than the assistant managers. And as soon as the rep starts thinking that way, they stop selling, by the way. As soon as they, you know, that's why, you know, people that sell 10 grand the first day on the job, we keep them in a little bubble. Okay. Because we don't want them to know how good they're doing. And if they're like, oh, wow, I'm the best, I'm crushing it, I'm the number one, then all of a sudden they usually stop being number one. Okay, there's very few people that are like, I'm going to keep doing this all summer long. Usually it gets in their mind and they get hubris and they stop performing at the same level. You know, and so it's important for AMs to sell, okay, so that their career sales are higher than any representatives on the team. And it doesn't matter if you're only at 10 grand right now in sales. I know some of you are on that situation. Some of you are well over 50 grand in sales right now. Okay, just keep in mind that you're starting much higher than any rep on your team will be starting at this summertime. You know, so if a representative passes you this summer, it's because you weren't selling consistently on a weekly basis. You know, and AMs that go on to be the strongest branch candidates because number one, they have way more money in startup. You know, they have 10 to 15 grand coming out of the summer minimum in startup. They have more confidence in themselves and in the program, and they're always badass recruiters because they can go on to become great sales trainers. AMs that sell big develop reps that sell big. AMs that push big develop reps that push big. So as an assistant manager, you really need to be focused on 2 things, okay? It is hitting the newsletter every single week and then going big for SC1 and SC2 push. That is your job as an assistant manager, okay? Be consistent, hitting the newsletter. I mean, selling $1,000 a week, okay? Which can be a lot in the fall and spring. It's nothing during the summertime. That needs to be the standard, and every single office is on this call, you know, is $1,000 a week. And that's like, you don't really even get recognized for that. That's just doing the job. Okay. Assistant managers need to be on the newsletter every single week. And I can promise you, like, even if you're in Miami, you will have enough time in your schedule 100%, no matter what level of an assistant manager you're at, to be able to sell $1,000 a week. I will make sure of it. Okay. Hitting the newsletter every single week and then stepping up big for the pushes. And every single assistant manager, even if you're full-time in the office, we usually relinquish a lot of your duties in the office for the SE2 push to allow you to go out there and sell and perform, because there's a big chunk of income for the summertime when you're doing a 15 or 20 grand push for SE2. But that's really your job. If you can't get that job done first, I'm not confident in having you performing and executing any functions in the office if you can't first be the person that's leading the team with sales. And that, by the way, is the number one most important thing in a sales organization for a leader to do, is to sell. As we wrap up the call here today, okay, I also want to just make sure, I like everyone to take a quick second, and maybe everyone doesn't have it completely figured out, but go into the chat box. I'd like you to post up how much you're thinking right now for your summer sales goal as an assistant manager for the entire summer. Now, I'm going to give you guys some thoughts afterwards, but I'd like to see where everyone's head's at first, and we'll wrap up this call in the next minute. Take a quick second to post what's your summer sales goal as of now. There might be some tweaking to this. Obviously, I think some people still need the summer schedules. All right, stop. No one else posts anymore. Look, I literally just drank water and almost choked on it and spit it out when I saw some of these goals. Are you guys posting the amount of income you'd like to make this summer, or the amount you'd like to sell?
Income.
Okay. So, all right, let me just make sure I'm hearing you guys correctly. Maybe I sort of phrased this wrong too. I want to know how much people are looking to sell this summertime too. 20 grand is a good income goal. Okay. But by the way, I just want to preface this too. Like, hey, half of your money, your income, if not more, is going to come from selling and leading the team this summertime too. A lot of you all are making like 10 grand off the office. You want to make 20 grand. The rest is coming from your sales performance, for the actual summertime. And just to give you guys some frame of reference, we'll come back and visit this. Okay. But every assistant manager in the division should be selling 30 grand this summer. Most of you all on this call, if you were here for the whole summer last summer, now some of you guys weren't here for summer, or you came at the end of the summer, you sold 30 grand your first summer, and you weren't an assistant manager. You didn't have any experience going into the summertime. You didn't have, you weren't as committed to the job at that point in time. You had a very, very low skill level. You weren't coaching and teaching and training other people, and you sold 30 grand. You should be thinking bigger for your assistant manager summertime. Again, this is just the number one most important thing in the office. I would be saying, hey, 30 grand should be like the minimum expectation that an assistant manager has of their sales and what they're looking to go for during the summertime. That probably looks like a 15 grand, 30 grand is 15 grand for SE2. It's 5 grand for SE1, and it's hitting the newsletters, week to week outside of that. Keep in mind, not including April, there's 16 weeks in the summertime. If you just sell $1,000 a week for the summertime, and you have a 5 grand SE2 push and a 10 or 5 grand SE1 and a 10 grand SE2, which is the minimum expectations of the role, that's 30 grand in sales for the summertime. You know what I mean? So, and a lot of you all should be thinking bigger, especially if you're a selling assistant manager. Some of you all will have I want to make this clear too. It's everyone will have the same schedule in the office. So whether you're working more office functions or you're selling more, if you have only 2 or 3 days in the office, it doesn't mean you're only working 2 or 3 days out of the week. It just means the other 3 or 4 days that you have are dedicated to selling. And everyone has at least a day off in the actual schedule time. Some of you all will have more like 4 days in the office and 1 or 2 days to sell and then a day off. But everyone would be pretty much consistently worked across the same way. So I want to set the tone to that, and we're already over time. So Lindsay, you wanted to chime in and add something?
Yeah, real quick, guys, just to, expand your minds a little bit. I'm not saying this has to be you or this is going to be everyone, but my first AM summer on the job, I sold 20K for SE2. So I sold 20K in 2 weeks.
Right. And by the way, our record-breaking branch summer, the lowest performer that I had for SE2 sold 10 grand on my assistant manager team. Gabe Campo sold 25 grand. Eddie sold 20 grand. Gabe Torres sold 10 grand. Carlos Pelayo sold 15 grand. Those were my 4 assistant managers in my branch office. Okay, that was their assistant manager reports for SE2. So I think some people may have made a mistake and post their income goals, but if you were thinking 20 grand for the summer, I am like, well, what are you planning on doing for SC2? Like 2 grand, 3 grand, like, a lot of y'all, that should be like your SC2 goals. Again, think they're with the same premise. Reps should not be beating assistant managers for S2. Most reps will do 10K for the push. Most assistant managers should be doing 20K. Maybe if some are still roped into doing too many office functions, they're only able to pull out a 10K push with their actual office schedule that they have going on. But I want you guys to be thinking that, and just talk to previous branch or district managers or people that have been assistant managers beforehand. Again, the reason Jonathan made a lot of money, and I'm not even talking about this, about going above and beyond in August, but that's another opportunity. I'm really just talking about the first couple months of the summertime too. So everyone take a quick second. We're already over time here. So take a quick second to post your light bulbs and takeaways from today into the group chat. Post your top 2 or 3 light bulbs as we debrief and set the tone here. And you're going to go ahead. Jonathan, can you post Eddie's email into the chat?
Yeah.
Or I can just post it if you want.
Or yeah, let me find that.
And then what I'd like everyone to do is, if you took notes on paper, just copy and paste a photo and send it to Eddie's email. If you took notes on laptop, literally you can just copy and paste the notes. Don't worry about formatting or looking at pretty. Just send over the notes. And Eddie kind of stores them all, organizes them all too. So you'll have them later on for the summertime. So send the notes, post light bulbs. We have creating championship results as the assignment for next week, and that'll be the first official social media jumpstart deadline. And feel free to reach out to me if you guys have any questions. And I'll let people hop off here because it's 6:05. But does anyone have any lingering questions around that conversation? I know we're kind of wrapping up a little bit, ran a little bit late here.
Tomorrow's divisional meeting.
Yeah, tomorrow's division meeting, from 4 to 6:30. So make sure we have that buttoned up in the schedule. Deanna, you were going to chime in or ask a question?
I was just wondering what Eddie's email is.
Yeah, I'm going to send that.
I'm trying to find this.
It is in the NLG chat somewhere.
Yeah.
I will send it. Here, I have it. E de las Cuevas. Okay. And it will be posted and send notes to E de las Cuevas. Cool. Send it over to you guys there. Oh, cool. And the last thing I will say is, guys, is again, I want to echo that everyone will have time in your schedule to sell, and also still at least one entire day that is completely off from doing anything Cutco related in your schedule. Now, there'll be some nuances in everyone's schedule and what that actually looks like, but I just want to let you guys know that your schedules will support, number one, your ability to sell. So no one will be in a situation where I can't sell, Andrew, because I'm busy running the office. Like, that won't be the case for anybody. And number two, also, it's not like, well, Andrew, the only time that you get me to sell is my only day off the office. Like, that's not going to happen either. So everyone will still have time to support them with being off and time for them to be on, actively selling, performing, and lead the way here. Cool. All right, ladies and gents, if you're not in Miami, you're free to go. If you are in Miami, stay back here for a quick second. We'll see y'all later.